Oh, we're gonna get a long one this episode. I can't see what I'm shooting at. Alright, so we're done with Zelazny. We're gonna go back and we're going to pick up all the titanium from our lovely little outpost, and we're going to dismantle the outpost. But yeah. Let's see. So obviously, I'm going to do this, and then we're going to go to our next system. So, you know, be ready for that. Yeah, what? I'm assuming that these could hold 30 titanium, probably? What is the delete button? R? This is a strategy that, yeah, I gotta admit, I didn't, well, I mean, like, it had occurred to me before, definitely not initially, but I've definitely, it's definitely a thing. Oh, geez, let's see. Hang on, I said that I was gonna... Jeez, sorry, hang on. Oh, fuck. I had a bunch of tabs open. So, I have a TV as one of my monitors. And, it's like a 720p, which unfortunately, and I don't know, that probably has nothing to do with it, but it does cut off the corners of like YouTube videos and stuff. So that's fucking annoying. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about Star Citizen I want to talk about. Oh, you know, there's also... So I mentioned, like, I should probably get into 3D modeling, or I should try getting into 3D modeling by... I should try to get into 3D modeling by making some models, throwing them up as concepts, and just being, like, you know, fan creations of, like, hey, I think this thing would be cool. CIG, if you want to steal this, please give me credit, and that's all I care about. And, yeah, that's definitely a thing. Definitely a thing. Armitage, weapons manufacturing. Frankly, the only thing I care about is, like, basically, it's probably the one weapon manufacturer that hasn't been talked about at all. That hasn't been shown, that doesn't have other related products and they've been shown off or whatever. you know, they haven't been like sneak peeked, or they haven't had a sneak peek of them or anything like that. You know, so like there's that. And they are a company that makes militia weapons. Well, I'll go into it when I figure out next system to go to. Bull Cult. Kang? The Conqueror? Ooh. How many planets? 3 planets and 2 moons. 8 planets and 21 moons? Okay. That's a lot of moons. 8 planets, 12 moons. That's a decent amount of moons. Let's go to whatever this is. Oh, the first one's a gas giant? Then methane. We'll save this one for later. Let's, I might hate myself in the future. Oh, what's this one, actually? Ah, that's in the middle of the other 2. Yeah, let's do it. Gonna jump headlong into it. Alchiba. Welcome to the Alchiba system. I don't know what we have. But it's something, probably. Do we have... Alright, I don't want to make this too long. I just want to see, do we have any, like, standard CO2? Yeah. Cold, no atmosphere. Standard methane. I mean, like, part of me is like, oh, I'm seeing, like, basically nothing that has no habitable planets. But kind of like it's not a good thing. I don't know, it'd be weird to call it a good thing. But it's kind of good for me. It's like, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna leave myself off on some big thing next time. I don't know, it's kind of nice to see fun stuff. A gas giant would not have been the thing I wanted to end on, though. Alright, so Armitage Weapon Manufacturing, Star Citizen. So, there are a company. Alright, so for the layman, in Star Citizen there are the Vandul, an alien race who are not so subtly perhaps based off of the Vandals in history. Currently, in lore, the Vandul are having a rather brutalistic war with the UEE, where they will just raid planets and conquer them pretty totally. And you know, like, I don't know exactly, I don't know if they glass the planet a la the Covenant, but yeah, they don't glass the planet, but they do, like, they have, like, giant harvesters, and they, like, harvest a bunch of resources or something. And yeah, I'm not 100% sure how exactly all of their stuff goes. But yeah, they're not great people. any chance to communicate with them, not worked out. Anyway, so Armitage, in the Tiber system, I believe it was Tiber. Actually, maybe it was Orion. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, Armitage City, they got attacked by the Vanduul. After that, group came together and were like, fuck it, we're gonna build some militia weapons. Some weapons for the militia, fighting the Vanduul. And, yeah, they fight, they don't fight. They make guns. And then sell the guns to people who do fight. But yeah, they manufacture militia weapons. They donate, I think 25% of their profits go to charities, specifically charities that help relocate people who are displaced by the Vanduul conflict. So very focused company, one would say. Now, because this is a thing that I have been thinking about, there are a few grievances that I have with FPS, with the weapons in Star Citizen. For one thing, I think that it needs to be super varied. I think there needs to be a lot of stuff. And frankly, I think that the more variety, the better. Even if it becomes this thing of like, well, what's the best handgun to use? Okay, well, what are you looking for? Okay, I'm looking for just a regular-ass handgun, just a casual sidearm. Well, okay, then I've got 5 options for you. Or I've got 5 things that I can pick, and then, frankly, there's probably 10 other things that I haven't thought of, because I just haven't used them or whatever. Something, along the lines of, like, Warframe. Where it's like, you've got a dozen different options for any one thing, and you can't go wrong necessarily with any of them, but it's just a matter of like, do you like how it plays? And that kind of a thing. And I don't know, I think that would just be great. And I also think that for the sake of like a dynamic economy, I feel like having more products would probably, more items in that dynamic economy, more manufacturers, I feel like it could only help. And also, another thing with FPS weapons is that we don't have the wear and tear system, we don't have durability, we don't have reliability. And those are pretty, I would think that those are pretty large, those are pretty important things to consider with, when you're building out stuff. One grievance I have with Cyberpunk is that there's a lot of guns that are described as being, piles of junk. And, like the Carnage is, this like, oh, it's this ridiculously large, low-quality shotgun, except that you never see it jam, because jamming isn't a mechanic in 2077. And like, like in Star Citizen, oh, you love your Castak gun? It's a cheap, well, maybe in 1.0 it's a cheap piece of shit that jams every other round. It's like, oh, suddenly I don't like this thing anymore. It's like, well. And, not considering those things in the current balance, I mean, obviously they, to some degree they can't, right? Because, like, who the fuck knows when that stuff's gonna get added in? And that is fair. But also, when it does get added in, it's gonna change the whole thing. So, Armitage, like, Armitage seems like it would be a bearing. Like, it would be bearing, but probably cheaper and less reliable or less durable. Maybe It's high durability. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. It would definitely not have an ammo counter. None of their weapons would have ammo counters. Oh, also... Okay, well, also, sorry. Another grievance I have with, Star Citizen weapons... weapon manufacturers is, like, the lore. I mentioned, like, Vault has... So as a part of Vault, the new weapons that are coming out, they have a different fire mode. And basically what Vault was in the lore was that they just make knockoffs, they just copy stuff. Like, if anything, they sounded like as close to a Saturday Night Special company, a company that just makes these cheap pieces of shit that aren't new, aren't innovative, they're actually genuinely terrible, but they're cheap and affordable and available. That's the vibe that I got reading their Galactipedia article. And, like, depending on how you interpret that, maybe the fire mode is a result of, like, low-quality manufacturing. Maybe it's a bug, maybe it's a bug that's being marketed as a feature. I don't know. Take that for what you will. But there's, like, Gemini, who, on the Galactipedia, they mentioned, like, because they're not just a company, they're also a character in the story of Star Citizen. So, Gemini is like a company that is like I think the idea with the people who wrote the Galactipedia, that a Gemini is a company that's losing its identity. And morphing into something completely different. Gemini started as a company that, like, was the basic middleman of ballistic weapons. They frankly brought ballistic weapons back to the market by having, you know, just standard basic things, right? And, you know, in the Galactipedia, for one thing, they're very much have their tendency with, like, fast fire rate, you know, fast sort of thing, fast and sleek, and yeah, but so that's one deviation from their original idea. And they also mentioned in Galactipedia, so again, ballistic weapons, like, totally Gemini's thing, right? Well, they also mentioned that they bought an energy weapons startup and are making energy weapons. And I don't know if that's just a thing that that the devs just didn't read, don't care about, they want to retcon that. And I mean, like, it's fair enough, but also, I don't know, I'd love some acknowledgement on that fact. But Armitage, what am I thinking for Armitage? I'm thinking Armitage makes, like, kind of everything. Kind of any and every, like, weapon that a militia would want. I'm thinking that the inspiration I want to take is from Fort, which is a, like, Ukrainian state-owned weapon or arsenal, or weapons manufacturer. I don't think... They make pistols, and I know they make a submachine gun, which isn't, like, frontline, weapons. And I can imagine, like... I would imagine that they make, yeah, like a pistol, a handgun, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made... If they made Magnum revolvers. Like, that would be a strange... That'd probably be a strange take, but okay. Could definitely be argued that, like, you want a tiny little 10 mil? You don't want a 10 mil to fight a Vanduul. You want a 50. You want a 60 caliber revolver. That kind of a thing. Actually, that'd be really... Yeah, that might be a thing I do. Anyway, that might be the first thing I model. But yeah, also, like, you know, definitely assault rifles, battle rifles, light machine guns. I mean, I do think energy weapons also, but I think ballistic and energy weapons, I think would both be good. I'm also thinking, like, there's two angles, like, these are militias who are taking the fight to the Vanduul, or these are, like, militia, like, as in private security, or, like, local security that are doing the work, that the military would normally do, but like they are there so that the military can be on the front lines and kind of thing. And in that way, like, okay, we will make you an assault rifle so that you can have a guard armed with an assault rifle, so that that bearing P4, that bearing P8 AR can be used by a Marine on the front line, or by the army on the front line, instead of being used, you know, to guard some prisoners or something. That kind of a thing. So, yeah, that's, and I'm thinking that they need to be, like, industrial, hard lines, hard edges, looking like they're, like, stamped metal, stamped metals, plastic, you know, maybe, like, rough forgings, if there's, something that makes sense for that kind of a thing. A 5-shot 60 caliber revolver does seem pretty... like, this is the weapon to fight Vanduul with. But then also, like, an energy assault rifle that's, fairly basic, very plain Jane, and it's just like, you know, this is your standard issue, and, you know, you don't have to worry about ammo because it's energy, and, of course, having, like, an assault rifle that is, like, the ballistic version of this thing, even though that's kind of ridiculous. At the core of it, they're obviously can be completely different. I want to do a submachine gun that has, like, a, instead of, like, recoiling straight backwards, it recoils downwards. Not in the same way that the Chris Vector does, or the C-54 does, but something slightly different. I'm trying to think. There are some examples where they basically, like, again, instead of going straight back, the bolt just goes, like, down at, you know, 20 degrees or something. Maybe doing something like that, but also trying to invoke, like, Tommy gun vibes? That could be cool. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, until next time, have a good day, great day even. Chowskis.